Welcome to another edition of Arizona Wildcats Insiders Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Hutchison, and we are getting ever so close to Arizona football kicking off the 2025 college football season against Hawaii. Arizona will take on the Rainbow Warriors on August 30th on TNT from Arizona Stadium. The two programs that were famously coached by legendary coach Dick Tomey, who built up Hawaii, then made his way to Tucson with the Wildcats and had one of the most storied careers for Arizona in terms of a football coach, winning 90-plus games over from 1987 to 2000. And Dick Tomey ended his career as the all-time leader in wins in Arizona football history, having two 10-plus win seasons, capping off the 1998 year with the greatest year in program history, going 12-1. Beating Nebraska in the Holiday Bowl, finishing number 4 in the AP poll. Arizona was one game away from a national championship game, and an unfortunate situation between UCLA and Miami took place later in that year, preventing Arizona to go to the Rose Bowl. But Dick Tomey brought the Desert Swarm defense, that whole entire mentality to Tucson, one of the most fierce defenses of the 90s, one of the best rushing defenses of all time. And you saw the program kind of go through a downward trajectory after that. Stoops built it back up. Rich Rod added to that. Then you had Jed building the program back up again. And now you have Brent Brennan entering year 2 of his tenure after an underwhelming first year with high expectations. Brent Brennan is set to kick off his second season as Arizona head coach, has made several changes on the coaching staff, including Seth Dagey, the offensive coordinator, who's coming in from Marshall. Then you also have Joe Salavea coming from Miami, returning home to Tucson to be the defensive line coach. Danny Gonzalez getting promoted to the defense coordinating job. Arizona is geared up on the coaching staff. They brought in several transfers. They have a solid incoming freshman class that ranked top 40 in the country. So Arizona is all set to revamp and retool and get back to its winning ways under Noah Fifita at quarterback and under Brent Brennan as head coach. We are in the middle of training camp. It's just started. Day 2 is underway, and Arizona has had a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, and a new tempo out there on the football field. But I want to talk about the quarterback room first. Last season, after Noah Fifita is a very talented quarterback. But after Noah Fifita, the talent level just dropped, just took a dive bomb after that. There was nobody behind Noah Fifita. Brandon Dorman, who was a 4-star recruit, didn't really develop in Tucson, is now at a different college. And then he had a bunch of walk-ons and transfers from a bunch of small colleges. There's nobody behind Noah that you could put in a football game and feel comfortable. Even in a blowout, you wouldn't feel comfortable with it. So that led to Noah playing in more games near the end of games in the middle of a blowout where he was getting hit, banged up, and beat. Took 28 sacks last year. And there's some games in the fourth quarter where you thought, man, they should go to their backup quarterback. Not because Noah's horrible or doing poorly. It's the game's out of reach. But unfortunately, Arizona did not have that option because they didn't have anybody trustworthy to put into those situations. Now, Seth Dagey went to work this offseason, and he brought in Braden Locke from Wisconsin, who has a ton of experience starting for the Badgers, facing Alabamas of the world, Michigans of the world, Ohio States of the world. Ton of experience, very successful career there, even though he is transferring, put in a tough situation with underwhelming offenses at Wisconsin, but he is a gunslinger. He has that gunslinging mentality, and he's very exciting to watch. So he is your number one backup there. And then you have Sawyer Anderson, the true freshman that was in that recruiting class. Seth Dagey was able to flip him from Purdue. Once Seth came to Arizona, Sawyer Anderson followed. The two were very familiar with each other as Seth Dagey was recruiting Sawyer, I believe, at Purdue at the time when he was there, and then tried to recruit him at Marshall. But Sawyer was very talented, went to Marshall. The Texas connection there between the two. So he will be in the second spot as the number 2 backup, and that is your top 3 in terms of quarterbacks. But night and day in terms of talent. You have a guy that has leadership and has been around the block, and Braden Locke with another year. So even if Noah goes on to the NFL, you have a guy that you could trust to put in there the following season. And Braden Locke, in my opinion, could start for a lot of teams in the country. I think he could have played for a lot of power forward teams, but he chose to come play for Brett Brennan, play for Seth Dagey, and play underneath Noah Fafita, knowing that he would get a shot the following year and learn a lot about college football and offense in college football with one of the better quarterback minds and one of the better offensive minds in Seth Dagey. So I think that's huge. In this training camp so far, you've already seen it. Iron sharpening iron. Brandon Locke has looked really good in practice, has had a lot of really good throws. No Fafita, the same thing. And Sawyer is kind of like that guy following them around and being that guy attached to the hip, learning from these veterans. And that's what you want to see. That's how you get guys where you get one quarterback leaves to the NFL and all of a sudden the other one comes in and there's nothing lost because he's been learning underneath him. It's a system. It's a wheel, and you want to keep on spinning that wheel. And Arizona has started that process. Now, will it work this season? We'll see. I think Arizona is going to be improved, but they're starting that wheel process. You want to see that wheel turning, and they have a 4-star quarterback coming in the next recruiting class. So hopefully you see that attrition keep on building and building for the Wildcats at the quarterback position. Number 2, I want to talk about Trey Spivey. Not a lot of stats at Kansas State. It's a program that runs the ball a lot. Has pretty set receiving core. Trey was one of the more talented receivers out of the state of Arizona at the time, out of Hamilton, playing with Genesis Smith, playing with Tay Brown. Very familiar with the two, obviously very familiar with the state of Arizona. His dad being Junior Spivey, the former Diamondback fan favorite and World Series champion. So very familiar with the setting. But he is a true long, lengthy 6'3" receiver, 215, 218. Dynamic receiver, can go up and get the ball, has been a tremendous route runner thus far. Very impressed with his strength. The more he grows, the more I see him playing this season and being a serious part of this rotation. I could see him getting somewhere between 400 to 500 yards with this receiving core. Mind you, there wasn't a lot of playing time at Kansas State before. And how deep this receiving core is, getting 400 or 500 yards, you're going to be pretty special. You're going to be something special. And that could be along with 3 to 5 touchdowns. The ball is going to be spread out, but Trey Spivey is turning himself into an offensive weapon for Arizona. I loved what I've seen from him so far this spring. We're very early on. We got to see, it repeat itself. Keep on seeing, consistency. But I love what I've seen from Trey Spivey. It's going to be a competitive field in that wide receiver room. I think you're about 6-7 deep there of guys that you can put into a game right now. And then you have 2 freshmen in Gio Richardson and Isaiah Melza, if I could pronounce that correctly, that are highly talented players, that are 4-3 star recruits, but highly ranked recruits. I don't think they're going to see the field this season, but year 2, they're going to see the field. Year 3, they could be the top 1 and 2 receivers on this roster and 1 and 2 receivers in the Big 12. That's how talented they are. Now let's go to the punting game. Last year, it was atrocious for the Wildcats. A lot of inconsistencies. Michael Salgado Medina was inconsistent at times, highly talented. Again, a freshman that was put into the fire. You saw a rotation of punters there, and he just never really seemed to get a rhythm going. You had a few, snapping issues there too, with the lawn snapper and shield that maybe was a little oversized. Now, Arizona has Michael Salgado Medina coming back and new special teams coordinator, new special teams coach, Craig Nivar, decided to get an Australian punter, something that has been massively growing over the last 20 years as Australian punters. Isaac Loveson comes to Arizona, and this guy's got a boot for a leg. This guy's got a cannon for a leg. Right now, he's been a little inconsistent, and we've seen the two go at it in practice in terms of punting, not actual fighting, but, competition. And both have had their struggles, but both have had bombs of punts, have had massive hang times, deep punts, and looked the part of an all-conference punter. So you have two talented guys that right now need to figure things out in terms of getting consistent. But when they do, and I think they will this camp, Arizona's going to have two punters that can rely upon. I think it's going to be Loveson. I think that's why you bring in an Australian punter, and I think his leg's a little bit bigger. But right now, Michael Salgado Medina has been a little bit more consistent. So it's a battle we're still waiting to see in this training camp. So far through 2 days, it's been entertaining, but I can't wait to see how it all plays out. We'll have many more updates of Arizona football training camp as we get closer to the 2025 season. Again, follow us on Arizona Wildcats on SI for more updates throughout Arizona football training camp.